Good morning, good evening, good night, whatever it is, wherever you are. Welcome to my channel. My name's Melissa, some people call me G, and this is G's Journals. Look, today I'm super excited because we are reviewing A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. The official release date was February 4th, 2015. So that's like 9 years ago? 9 years? 9 years in a week? 9 years in 2 days? I have no idea.
It's been like 9 years.
So it's been out for a while. It's got a huge fan base, and I can see why. This is book one of a 3-book series. I'm excited to get to the next 2 books, which are A Gathering of Shadows and A Conjuring of Light, because this first book, it was pretty good, if I do say so myself. In the review today, I'm going to be going over 5 categories in how I rated this book: characters, plot, readability, world building, and spice. But before we do that, I have a disclaimer. From this point on, there will be spoilers. I repeat, from this point on, there will be spoilers. If you haven't read the book, you need to. Okay? Like and subscribe, exit this video, get your Kindle, go to the library, wherever you get your books, pick up this one, read it, and come back. I'll still be here. Promise. Okay? If you've already read this book and I've kept you waiting, I'm sorry. Let's get into it. Pause if you want to read the book description. I'm going to put it here in case you want that. But I'm going to give you a 1-minute synopsis just so we're on the same page, because I feel like mine is more fun. Begin. In this universe, there's 4 versions of London. There is gray, red, white, and black. Black London is supposedly dead. Or is it? Only Antari can travel between the worlds, and they usually have one black eye that's full of magic and one regular colored eye. Kelmaresh from Red London and Holland Vosich, I think that's how it's pronounced, are the 2 last Antari alive. They're envoys to the royal crown. The White London leaders are sadistic Dane twins, Astrid and Athos. They're crazy and they enjoy torture way too much, literally way too much. And they often turn people Holland into puppets. Okay. Kel visits White London. Stranger gives him a stone. He's robbed of the stone by Delilah Bard, aka Lila, also an aspiring pirate, also a petty thief, but a great thief. And then they become adventure buddies. They gotta go on this adventure to save the world and protect everybody. Obstacles ensue. People die. The stone is returned to where it belongs, and all is well. Or is it? Lesson learned: never take packages from strangers. I'm tired. Okay, now we can move on to the characters. We have 4 main characters and 3 antagonists. Technically 2, one's an inanimate object, but I'm putting it as an antagonist nonetheless because my wife pointed it out and I think she's right. So the 3 main characters are Kelmaresh, the Antari, who is an envoy to the Red London Crown, and he collects small artifacts. He's a cross-world smuggler. He is being raised by the royals of Red London, and he basically does their bidding between the worlds. Originally, I pictured him as this stoic and standoffish type person, but I gotta give V.E. Schwab her credit, because as the book went on, you find out more about him that gives him this human aspect and these human elements. And when you find out his backstory, the way he acts in the beginning makes sense. We also have Delilah Bard. She's 19. She's from Grey London, which is this London that supposedly doesn't have magic. And she's an aspiring pirate. She's a petty thief, and she's an LGBTQ baddie. She was my favorite character in the whole book. I relate to her in a lot of ways, kind of. I'm not a thief, but I often think about thievery. Besides the point, I relate to her in a lot of ways. 1, gay. 2, we don't know for sure that she's gay. But there are passages where she's talking about how good it feels to have women come on to her. So, in questioning, that's what the Q's for. So, you know what? She fits there. Off rip, I saw Delilah, aka Lila, as this like reckless and thrill-seeking human being. You feel it from the first paragraph that she just loves the thrills. Like when you meet her, she has just robbed somebody, and then this cop comes up to her and he's like,
"Hey, be careful. There's people robbing people out here."
and she's like,
No. On these streets? How dare they?
I don't know, she's just so funny and tough. But as the book goes on, you see under her tough exterior, she is a softie. And she's not going to show it. She's not going to act like it. She's not going to dwell on it. But her heart is really big. And gosh, she took me. Oh, my little heart. The next main character we have is Holland Vossajuk. Damn. I looked this up earlier so I could pronounce it right, and I wrote down like the little brackets of how to pronounce it. Vossajuk. So I think that's it. Could be wrong, could be right.
Vossajuk.
That's not what I said. Holland is also an Antari. He's from White London, which is this London where magic is sought after. And it's sought after in any way possible. I mean, people will kill for it. People are starving for it. People are just willing to do whatever to get any crumb, morsel of magic. And he's Antari. So he serves the rulers there. And my gosh, the people who rule there are scary. Honestly, Holland's arc was the saddest. Like, I don't want to spoil like too much, but I'm gonna. So if you don't want to hear like big plot points, maybe cover your ears for the next 30 seconds. But Holland's, yeah, it was beautifully done. I mean, I met him and I hated him, and then along the way, even as he's doing these horrible and like really annoying things, you fall for him and you're like, man, I want to give you a hug. Come here, let's cuddle, man. I'll protect you, man. Just rest your head, you know? And so I really, V.E. Schwab wrote these characters top to bottom. We also have Prince Rai. He's not my fave, but he's also an LGBTQ baddie, and he's a prince. So he's got money, which you'll win me over with those two things. So I don't hate him, but I don't love him. I honestly thought he was a brat. His character escalation didn't escalate very far for me, but we didn't really have an opportunity to see him do so. His situation in the book wasn't the greatest. As far as antagonists, my number one is the stone. That's the inanimate object I was talking about. The stone. I believe that that is the main antagonist of this book. My wife pointed that out to me yesterday, and I was flabbergasted. That inanimate object literally motivates all the plot. Yes, it was sent by two of the other antagonists, Astrid and Athos, the Dane twins, and also the rulers of White London, but they didn't do as much as the stone, okay? That stone was making magic, making people, and when it was possessing people's bodies and like roaming through London, that stone was working hard. You can't tell me it wasn't. And it had to have been a character because there were chapters from the stone's POV. Well, not the stone, but the magic in the stone. So I'm standing strong to that. I was actually really surprised. There were a ton of supporting characters. To shout out some of the best ones, Baron and Parrish. Honorable mention, Castor, which is Lila's gun. What a true homie. He really held it together. And then there are way too many side characters to even go over. I tried to make a list of all of them. There's like over, I think, 20. And, no. In total, for the characters of Darker Shades of Magic, I'm rating it 5 out of 5 stars. 5 out of 5 stars. I know it's steep and I know it's high, but V.E. Schwab wrote these characters, and there wasn't a thing that they did that I couldn't understand. They each had their own personal anecdotes and journeys and like symbolic things that other characters didn't know was symbolic, and they're all on their own adventure in one larger story. It was really, really beautiful to see, and I think what made these characters so great is that no one felt like they were written just to move plot. They all felt like they had their own character arcs. They had their own lives outside of who they were to the main plot. And that was impressive. And I give it 5 stars. Plus, how did she make me like people that I didn't want to like? That's a gift and a talent, and I'm giving that 5 stars. I'm standing to it. Moving on to the plot. The plot was quite linear. It had multiple POVs and flashbacks that were prompted by conversation instead of just out of nowhere. And the entire book mostly happens in the span of 48 hours, which does not feel like the span of 48 hours. Like in the text, when it was pointed out that certain events happened only half a day ago, I was sitting in this chair like, that was supposed to be 12 hours ago? There's no way. She had us going over every detail of a 48-hour span, and I wasn't bored. Although I will say the multiple POVs sometimes were a little bit annoying. And I think if you've ever read a book with POVs, you kind of get what I'm saying. You get invested into one character's path. And when the chapter POV switches to another person, you're like, damn, I really wanted to be with Kel and Lila instead of Parrish. I love Parrish. Parrish is great. But I want to be where the main action is at. Yeah, it's a ride that you have to go on, but she made it fun. Like, all the details wrapped in together, so it paid off in the end. But I will say that at certain points, I was like, damn, I don't want to be with this character. I want to be with the other guys. I think the plot progression was slow but deliberate. Like, V.E. Schwab really found ways to give you information without feeling like, hey, this is exposition. A good example is in, like, Chapter 2, Kel is threatening this prince because the prince was just being a jackass. And he asks him, like, do you know what you and Black London have in common? You're both hungry for power. Then he's able to explain the backstory of why Black London didn't survive. It doesn't feel like, you know, he's cracking open a history book and being like, oh, this is the history of Black London, I'm bored. It felt like a conversation, but also a threat. So it was exciting, and I learned what I needed to know, but I also got to watch someone get threatened. So it was good. If you don't know, I am trying to write a book myself, and the reason I am doing these book reviews is to figure out what it takes to be a good writer and create a good story. And this book really, I feel like, taught me a lot about not only the importance of character development, but also of plausibility and being able to look at the actions of characters or things in the world and say, oh, this makes sense. Like, I believe that. This doesn't feel like a stretch. There wasn't anything in this book where I was like, huh, no, that just seems out of place. Although all of the plot twists in this book, they got me. Usually I'm pretty good about predicting what's going to happen in a story or a movie or whatever. But in here, there was only one thing that I anticipated. Actually, the children are screaming. Why? There was one moment in the end, though, that I almost got mad. Like, this close to being mad at V.E. Schwab. And then she smoothed it out for me. But when Lila was approaching Astrid to kill her, and there were no obstacles, she walks in past the guards. There's no one in the room protecting Astrid's body. Astrid's passed out. Lila raises her gun and she shoots it. The whole time I'm flipping these pages like, when is somebody going to pop out? When is somebody going to beat Lila's ass? Like, when are we going to get into a fight? When are the dogs going to come? Like, who's going to become a puppet? Like, what's happening? And it didn't happen until the very last second. And at that point, I was like, V.E. Schwab, there's no way you did all this writing to let this villain be killed so easily. And she was like, V.E. Schwab said,
You thought that I would ruin my book with a terrible ending? Zip.
And I zipped. And she zapped. And the bullet went dink. And, you know, I was shocked. If you didn't read the book, it doesn't make sense. What happened was Lila was aiming to shoot Astrid, and then there's no one around, and Lila shoots, hoping to kill her, and then the bullet actually bounces back and hits Lila. That surprised me. I didn't expect that. You just had to be there. Okay, plot holes. Were there any plot holes? Really not many. There's one. But you could spell it away. Like, I thought it was a little plot hole that Kel didn't notice Lila's prosthetic eye. If you've ever met anyone with a prosthetic eye, like, they're done really good if the eye is staying still. But when, if the other eyeball moves, you can see it's a prosthetic eye. That was the only thing where I was like, but also this is a world of magic. And if they can spell their tongues to translate shit, why can't they spell their eyeballs to move? Their prosthetic eyeballs to move. So that's not a good one. It's not a good plot hole. And the only other one was, why does other people refer to Black London as Black London when Kel said that he gave the Londons their nicknames? I don't know. Maybe he heard of Black London and that was something that everybody knew the name of. And then Kel was like, oh, let me give the other ones these nicknames. You know what I mean? They're not good plot holes. Like, I'm not impressed with myself. I'm not. I could do better. But I couldn't find anything. Because V.E. Schwab wrote this book. She wrote it.
She wrote it.
So overall for plot, I give it a 4.8. The only reason I don't give those last 0.2 points is because of those moments when I was bored with the other POVs. If we would go from like a heavy hitting chapter where there's a fight scene and all these things, and then we switch to someone who's on guard duty. That for me was like an up and then a right down. I still enjoyed it though. So am I really mad? No. But could I give it a 5? Not honestly. Close to, but not honestly. I'm sticking with a 4.8, and that's my overall rating for the plot. Moving on to readability, this is actually the category that got the lowest rating for me. I awarded this category a 4.4, which honestly is still high. In my mind, at least. This is all really subjective. And so, 4.4, really, what does that mean? Take it as you will. But I give it a 4.4 because I thought the writing was magnifique. But there were moments where sentences ran long. There were moments where details were brought up one too many times for me. Okay, it took me a few chapters to adjust to V.E. Schwab's writing style, but once I acclimated to it, I loved it 98.9% of the time. The only other 1.1% that I didn't like was if a sentence was so long that I found myself rereading it a few times. That would take me out of the experience of reading it, and I'd have to be huh? And track back. Don't let that deter you, seriously, unless you really, really hate descriptive words. As far as pacing, the book had 14 acts, and each act had anywhere from 1 to 6 chapters. I thought the chapters weren't too long, and they always fit what I wanted to read. If I sat down with 45 minutes to read, I could get through 2 chapters. I read a little slower than some. Maybe you could get through 3, but they didn't feel too long. They felt fitting. As far as POVs, there were several. We saw the book from everyone's perspective, from the main characters to the bodyguards to the actual magic within the antagonistic stone. Okay? It was quite surprising, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was really interesting. When we went to the perspective of the stone, at first I didn't know whose perspective we were in. But then once it was talking about transferring magic, I was like, oh, interesting. So it's like an entity with a mind. And I think the POVs were used as a tool to not only elevate the plot, but give us more details as to how powerful the stone was. So, good on ya. There was one other time when I was seriously confused, and it screwed up how I processed the ending of the book. Completely screwed up how I processed the ending of the book. I think this is my fault because I just wasn't paying attention, because my wife got it on the first go, and for me it took 3 goes. She explained it to me, really. It didn't take any goes. I just never got it until she explained it. And that confusion stemmed when Lila and Astrid are fighting. When Astrid brought the ceiling down onto Lila's foot, Lila gets trapped under there, and she's screaming, and she's, her foot is under all this rubble. And when she looks down, it's mentioned, and I'll put it here. And when it mentions that Lila's looking at this rubble and sees shattered like bones in there, my brain was like, oh my God, Lila's foot is shattered. Like, she can't walk. And then not 2 chapters later, when she goes to walk to Kel, who's like depleted after kicking ass and killing Athos, I was like, oh. What was I like? Lila used magic and she didn't tell Kel? Oh my gosh, is she going to be the villain? When did she learn that? It totally threw off how I processed the ending.
I'm an idiot!
Once it was revealed to me that the bones were not her bones, they were other bones that Astrid had stored in the floor of all the people she had killed before, then I was like, oh. I factored that into readability because, yes, they mentioned that Astrid keeps bones and bodies in the floor, but this brain right here didn't catch that. And so the overall experience was dampened because I got it wrong. Sorry. So that factors into my rating. But hey, ratings are all subjective, and life goes on. Honestly, there are way too many examples of good writing in this book, though. And I'll pop up a few examples. But my favorite thing that V.E. Schwab did with her writing is this tiny little drop of symbolism. V.E. Schwab mentions that Rye's door to his bedroom is cherry wood, and Kel's door is a dark oak wood. And with a quick Google, I found that cherry wood represents pure and fruitful love. And I thought that was ironic because that just felt seriously like Rye. I think Rye has this pure brotherly love for Kel. Compared to Kel, Rye is this like pure person because he's never traveled to any other worlds. He doesn't really wield magic that well, and he's a prince. He doesn't really do anything except be a prince. So he's kind of this pure form of humanity, whereas Kel is, the opposite. He's forced to be something else. Another quick Google showed me that oak symbolizes courage and strength and perseverance. That is, in my mind, exactly what Kel has to embody so that Rye can stay this pure and innocent human being. V.E. Schwab, did you do that on purpose? If you ever see this video, which I don't think you will, I want to know if you did that on purpose. Because if you didn't do that on purpose, just say it was on purpose, because I thought it was genius. So overall, for readability, I gave it a 4.4. Just because at certain points the writing took me out of the experience. I still feel like 4.4 is really high. You do that with what you will. Did that make sense? You do with that what you will. As far as world building, I think V.E. Schwab did fan-freaking-tastic. Okay? Like, as I was reading, I could see everything she was describing, and I felt like I was there, and the characters felt real to the world that she created, and each London had a distinct vibe and a distinct energy, and the people in those Londons had a distinct vibe and energy, and it was really, really awesome. And what I thought was really cool, which she mentions in I think the acknowledgments at the end of the book, was that the setting for these Londons was inspired by Edinburgh, the capital of Scotland. And with a quick Google, if you look at some of the pictures of it, this is exactly what I imagined in the book. Like, literally, picture for picture, it's exactly how I saw it in my brain. And so I give her a lot of credit for describing a setting so well that I could see it exactly how her inspiration city looked. And the magic systems, too, were super cool. Each London has their own languages, and then the people within those different versions of London can come from other places and speak different languages. So there's a magic thing like a translation rune, that can be etched into your skin and translate for you. You can pause and read this section where she describes the rune, but I thought that was so smart. Instead of having to come up with some weird thing where somebody learns a language or someone can speak 17 different languages, you just have a translation rune. So that's not an issue in the writing. I thought that was a really cool way to avoid like some really weird writing mishaps. So again, good on ya. Oh, and what surprised me was the technological features. So in this world where there are monarchs and carriages and taverns, I expected, not that much technology. But then we come to a chapter later in the book, and there's literally a scrying board that's got like, shifting images. And a thing where you can like touch a button and say where somebody is. Again, you can pause if you want to read it, but I thought that was pretty cool. And it could be technology or it could be magic. Who knows? But it just felt very advanced for the setting, and V. Schwab really weaved that high form of technology into this like old and rustic lifestyle, and I was fooled. I thought it fit right in. I wasn't even surprised it was there. Well, I really was surprised, but now that I'm looking back, I'm not surprised. So do with that what you will. This was excellent, and I'm so excited to see more in the next book. I already have it on my Kindle. Mind you, I made a mistake and bought one PDF with all of the books in one thing. I'm very mad about that. But look, we won't dwell. Overall for world building, 5 out of 5 stars. She did it. She did it. I cannot deny that world feels fleshed out. Flushed out? Fleshed out. I don't know. It feels well developed. Okay, the last category is spice. And there's really not much to go off of. She gave us crumbs and I gladly ate all of them. Okay? There's one chapter where the magical stone possesses somebody. He goes into a brothel. He, gets jiggy with this lady. He then possesses her while they're, kissing and stuff. It was spicy. It was hot. I was into it. And other than that, we only got 2 kisses from 2 other characters that I won't reveal if you still want to read the book, because it was a little cute. And so, it was a little spice here and there. But of the little spice that we got, I feel full. Okay, I ate the crumbs and somehow my belly was full. And for that reason, I gave spice a 4.5. Why a 4.5? Why not that last extra 0.5? Because I want more spice. I'm greedy, okay? It could have gotten a 5 stars, but I'm greedy. I'm keeping that 0.5 until I get more spice. Maybe in the next book I'll give it back. That's it. No arguments. Thank you so much. If you tally all these numbers together, divide them by 5, we get my overall rating for Darker Shades of Magic, which is a 4.74. It's kind of a weird number, so I'm just going to round it up. We get a 4.8. That's pretty high. Look, this was a great book. If you haven't read it, pick it up. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. I believe it's free on Kindle Unlimited. At least the last 2 books are. Or go to your library and check it out. Look, it was worth the read. I enjoyed it, and it's on my top 10s list that I'm creating. I don't have anything else on the list, but this one's the first one to go on that list. That's big news. Sometimes I think to myself, you're an idiot, you're an idiot, you're an idiot. And then I think to myself, yes you are, yes you are, yes you are. And then I move on. The last bonus extra stuff is icks and top picks. Now this usually turns out to be a rant. If you're not into that, see ya. Like and subscribe before you head out. But if you are, here we go. It's rapid fire. Icks. Here's some things I didn't like. Rai punching Kel when he told the truth about not feeling like a member of the family. I'm sorry. Didn't you ask me a question and I answered it honestly and now you're mad? Feels like a you problem. Second, Rai being a big old hypocrite about Kel smuggling artifacts across the world, and then when somebody gives him a smuggled artifact, he's like, oh yeah, this was probably from my London. I totally believe that. Rise on my shit list. Anyway, moving on. The King and Queen of Red London. Hate them. Selfish. They're bitches. I don't like them. They can go. They tried to gaslight Kel into believing they loved him just so that he would better protect the crown and their son. I'm sorry. You're manipulators. I don't like you. Fuck off. Oh. I don't even want to talk about it. Holland? Why did they do my man's like that? Like, he wasn't my favorite from the jump, but really his story was horrific. Really horrific. Him being a puppet to those two maniacs, ick. I understand it was necessary for the story, but I hate that for him. So that's all. The biggest ick in the entire book was Kel sending Holland's very powerful body to Black London with that stone. It's clear. I mean, we saw it earlier that when somebody eats the flesh or blood of an Antari, they get powerful. And so if there's really somebody or any entities like this stone in Black London, why would you send them a body to eat and give them power? It just didn't make sense to me, and I hated it. So there's that. But I know it's needed to have the second book, so I can overlook this. Also, the origins of Kel's name. That was dirty, okay? She ripped my heart out with that. I'm not going to be over it ever. Oh, also a top pick of mine was that I called that Lila was Antari by page 68, okay? But another ick, just to add on, was that I was surprised when we found out that she had magic in her. Like, how did I call that she was Antari and then be surprised she had magic? It just, something's not adding up here. Honestly, the best top picks are all the plot twists, okay? The reveal of Lila's eye, nuts. When we found out that Astrid was possessing Rye, bonkers. And Lila shooting Astrid and then getting shot, I gasped in my chair. And you know, if I gasp in the chair, it's a good book, okay? So if you haven't picked it up, really, you're playing yourself. Finally, the remaining questions that I have for the next book, also rapid fire. How did Kel come to live with the king and queen? We still don't know that. Where did Kel get that memory rune from? Okay? Because I'm suspicious. I think the queen and king, the king and queen, the queen and the king forced him to get that so his memory could be erased. I can't even talk. I'm convinced that the king and the queen forced Kel to get this memory eraser rune so that he would better serve their throne. They're already gaslighters and manipulators, so it wouldn't be surprising at all. Another question, where was Kel born? Was it in Red London? I know he lives there now, but is that where he was born? Also, are we going to see the scrying tables where you can like share memories and make sure that your intention is being received by the other person? Because I wish I had one of those in real life. It would avoid a lot of miscommunications between me and everybody else. And lastly, is Holland coming back to life? Because sending him to Black London just feels like a real bad idea. And I feel like if he doesn't come back to life and get a second chance to not be a puppet, it's really just not fair. So there's that. Those are my questions. I need immediate answers. So I'm going to start reading right after this. Overall, I rate A Darker Shades of Magic 4.8 stars out of 5. It was a fantastic read. I recommend you pick it up if you haven't already, and let me know what you think. If you already read it, what got you? Because when what's her name? Lila was shooting at Astrid, that's what got me for sure. But what got you? I love you guys. Subscribe or don't, like or dislike if you want. Thanks for being here. I really like doing this. It's super duper fun, and I'm gonna keep doing it. So I'll see you next time. Peace, y'all. Love ya. Bye. Good work, lights. Good work, camera. Good work, everybody. Good work, whiteboard. Couldn't have done it without you. I'm sweating and I'm tired. So there's that. I'm still recording and I'm going to stop recording. Thanks so much. This was great.